Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Sharad Singh on the line, and he is CEO over at Trivium. Sharad, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I'm a big fan of today's topic. So we will talk about traits of a good startup founder and company. But before we get into that, I do want to go further into what you're doing over at Trivium. So please tell us a little bit more about your company.
Absolutely. Thanks again for the time. And it's a great topic. And the reason why I feel I might have some insight is because of what we do at Trivium. So just a little about us. We've been around roughly 13 years, grew organically from starting to do accounting and finance for early stage tech companies. Now we do accounting, finance, HR, tax, insurance, and ERP implementations for small to medium-sized companies, mainly focusing on tech. We're based in Silicon Valley. A unique fact about us, we don't have a sales team. We're a referral-based organization, so all of our clients come from referrals or us doing webinars or seminars and people reaching out. Kind of different than the Silicon Valley high sales growth way of doing things. So through doing what we do, we've seen probably 500 to 700 startups in the last 12 years. And from there, we've seen a bunch of great exits, several $1 billion worth of exits and several $1 billion worth of capital raised. Companies that floundered at 5 people and couldn't get over the hump but had great ideas, and companies that had adequate ideas that grew to 50 to 100 people and sold for several $100 million. So that's why I'm happy to chat about this topic for today.
Wow, what an amazing story. And just the fact that, by doing webinars and doing other things, really driving inbound, opportunity and leads. And I think that's just absolutely an amazing story. So I guess the first obvious question is, because you've worked with and seen so many companies at varying different levels and degrees of success and everything in between. I mean, what are some of the traits that you've seen that are maybe those key differentiators between what makes a great founder or leader and what makes a good founder or leader?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it starts with, the founder or leader. And I think one of the simplest things I could share is that putting people above technology, which is kind of hard at times when there's a leader or a founder who comes from an engineering or technological background or is really passionate about the product. But in the end, people are going to make the technology great. It's not that the technology is going to make the people great. So if you focus as a leader on the folks on your team and building your team and supporting your team, and they know you're there for them, that is what I've seen as a huge differentiator between an adequate company and a unbelievable, 50x, 100x return company. And I can give you a simple example of that, if you'd like.
Please, yes. You took the question out of my mouth. Please, I was going to say, can you give me an example?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. But I'll give you the same scenario. 2 different founders. I go to founder A with we're all let's just hit COVID. This is a story from 5 years ago, but it applies to now more than ever. health insurance was going up for both companies, Company A and Company B. Company A, I approached the founder and I said, look, insurance is going up 10%. What do you think we should do? What are your thoughts? These are my suggestions. And before I could say anything, founder A said, you know what? Times are tough. We're strapped for cash. Let's go to like a bare minimum on the benefits and just get people by, and let's convince folks, that we gotta bootstrap again. We gotta save a dollar. Company B, I went in and I said the same thing. Rates are going up 10%. What should we do? And his first question was, how will it impact my employees if I were to change their benefits? And I said, well, if we went down, some people could get upset. Some, XYZ employee just had a kid. Before I could say anything, he said, well, this is a no-brainer. 10% in the grand scheme of things is not a big deal. Giving people peace of mind and letting them focus on their work and not giving them distractions during, Christmas time and open enrollment. Just go with the 10%. It's not a big deal. And don't ever think about the money. Think about how it impacts everyone. And that, for Company A, eventually couldn't raise a Series B. They had a 35% turnover. Example how turnover affects people. They hired a VP of marketing. They paid $80,000 to a search firm to find the VP of marketing. The person gets paid $250,000, $250K a year. They last 6 months. The person leaves. They just paid $125,000 salary plus benefits plus taxes plus $80K to find the person, and now they lose that candidate too, right? Company B retains everyone. They have like a 3% turnover. It was unbelievable, the culture they created. I believe we only had 2 people quit in the first 2.5 years of the company, and we had about 50, 60 people there. And now think of the money that's saved towards recruiting fees and continuity and not having to find and not having to get your senior staff to interview people. The projects are going full speed ahead. And, Company A folded and Company B sold for roughly $500 million in 4 years. Both companies in 4 years.
What an amazing story. And I don't want to, I hate to stay on this vein, but I got to go further. I mean, so that's one mistake you saw that you pretty well, I know, are there others? I mean, what are some of the big mistakes that you've seen out there that you just see founders make over and over again? Because I know there's some founders listening right now. Heck, I might be making the mistake right now. Forget, I'm not picking on anybody else. I might be making a mistake. I need to know, what am I doing wrong? What kind of mistakes are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I think it's to, we all have this, right? We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. I think I tell, anyone graduating from college, coming out, working, that find out what you're bad at as much as what you're good at, right? It helps you a ton as you grow in your career. The mistakes I've seen founders make is to get distracted and trying to learn something that's not in their domain, not trusting or delegating people, building the actual team to do the work, wanting to know about every little thing. You don't have bandwidth to grow a really incredible company if you need to know about everything and you need to learn about everything. And not only that, it demoralizes the people doing the work for you. They feel like they're having to teach you something, and then not only that, they're having to teach you because you don't trust them. So you don't empower folks. You take the power away, and then you get less quality work, and you dilute yourself.
And some of this
one
stuff,
of the big.
Yeah, when you say it makes perfect sense, but I feel like it's easier, it's easier to think about it than to implement that. Like, what if somebody's listening to this right now, and obviously it's going to be from person to person, it's going to change company size. I'm not asking to give any real unrealistic, magic piece of advice, of course, but what should somebody, if they're listening to this and you're kind of hitting that little pain in their side right now, what kind of things should they be thinking about in terms of making that change? How does somebody start, that you've seen at least?
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of talking to your peers, and it can be tough when you're a founder of a company, a CEO. I'm the CEO of our company. I talk to other CEOs. I make it a point to get the best ideas, and luckily, I'm very fortunate. I get to work with some of the smartest CEOs and founders out there. I'm in Silicon Valley. I get exposed to a lot. So I would suggest they do the same and just listen to podcasts like yours or or, listen to audiobooks. Just stay fresh, because it's tough when you're the leader and the founder. No one's really going to give you feedback. There's psychological sides. Even if there is someone that wants to give you feedback, they may not. They may just rather quit or look for another job without telling you there's some blind spots that you have. So the advice I'd give is talk to peers, reach out to folks like myself who are in a totally different sphere than maybe you. That's a technologist, right? And that's kind of what I've seen. And some of our hardest clients to convince to let us help them more are PhDs. They're really, really smart folks who are really, really specialized, and they like to know. They like to get to the bottom of all the information, and sometimes there's just not enough time to do that and make a decision in time. So delegation and also creating that peer group. I think every founder should have a peer group.
Let's talk a little bit more about about founders that are out there building their teams and some things, because you've obviously seen winning teams put together, and you've seen teams that maybe didn't quite accomplish the task they set out to do. What kind of advice would you give to somebody as they're out there building their teams?
Yeah, I think it kind of piggybacks on what we just talked about. But the biggest, statement is complement your team, not duplicate your team or yourself. The company doesn't need 6 people just like you. They may need one you, maybe even another person like you, and then a couple people to fill in the gaps that aren't your strengths. We watch tonight basketball is going to start, and it's there are not 5 Steph Currys out there playing. There's one Steph Curry, and there's 4 other players who are all different shapes and sizes with different skill sets. And that's what a team is, and that's what a company is, right? It's there are different departments. There's you're who we're speaking to right now is a CEO founder. That person needs to bring the whole team together and build individual teams within it. The sales team is going to look different than the marketing team. The marketing team is different than the engineering team. Engineering team is different than the finance team. And all these teams will butt heads against each other, but the CEO is the coach and the person putting the team together, and needs to make sure that each one of these players within the company and these divisions within the company work together and row together, and everyone is aligned to get to the same mission. That's probably as succinctly as I can put it.
No, that's great, and you have me all fired up over here, Sharad. I'm sitting here listening, like, put me in the game, coach. Come on, what's next? I love it. It is fun, and I don't want to overlook that. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun as long as we know we're all going the same direction, and it's more fun to play. I'm not saying like golf isn't fun, but golf is fun, but you're out there on your own. But a team sport can be really, really fun because you get to celebrate with people along the way, and it's really amazing what a good group of folks can achieve when they're all aligned, putting their all into it. And that's what it takes to start and push a company ahead. Everyone's trying hard in whatever they're doing. Everyone's giving it their all, and someone starting something from scratch it's harder than ever. There's no one to call. There's no one to call you. There's no one to tell you what to do. But when you get folks in a room that are all aligned and all 100% in, it's pretty amazing what can be achieved rather quickly.
That's awesome. So, Sharad, I can talk to you about this all day long, but we're about out of time for this episode. So, final question, 2-part question. So, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about Trivium, first thing, what's typically a good fit to work with you and your team, whether it's size of company, whether it's niche or otherwise? Like, what makes a good client to get the most value and to work with your team? Number 1, and then number 2, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Great. Yeah, thanks for asking that. We work with companies from like the idea stage who are about to receive some funding and launch, all the way through, getting acquired or exit, or, gigantic shifts that they need in their company where they need to implement certain software. So we're kind of in that. We're not a public company or anything like that. So I would say, anywhere from 1 to 100 million in revenue and 1 to 1,000 employees is kind of where we fit. And the second question was how to reach out to us. And I would recommend anyone, and I would suggest anyone, we have an open door. We help everyone. Like I said, we don't do any sales. We don't have a sales team, so we consider our work, what we do for folks, our sales and marketing. And if we do a good job for you guys, even if it's free, which we may do just to give you advice, just pass it along and help someone else out with it or send someone else to us. Our website is www.trivium, Triv as in Victor, IUM as in Mary.com. My name is Sharad, Sharad, and last name Singh, Singh, with Trivium, of course, the CEO. So you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or wherever else, and happy to help. I would say every single day we, take 4 to 6 calls where we're just helping folks get over hurdles, and hopefully they come back to us down the line. That's kind of how we work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Sharad, I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing some of your background and, all the great work that you're doing over at Trivium. So it really is a remarkable thing you're doing to help founders out there and companies. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you're a first-time listener, definitely don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Definitely want you to be a return listener. Have a lot more great guests coming up for you. Don't want you to miss out. And Sharad, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.